Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Putra Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachada Satarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadada Shri Vasari Go Bhakta Vrindaki Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kandara Giri Govardhan Ki Jai O Govinda. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyana Gyana Salakaya Chakshu Militan Gyana Tazare Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. I guess it's turned on, yeah? We could use a little volume. Maybe it's okay. I guess you guys can hear. We got an in-house audience here. The point is that several things. We come in a noble line. And we should, now we got too much, but that's all right. I don't want to be too intimidating. We come in a noble line. And it is not fantasy. It is a noble tradition. It's historical. You can go back to these places, just like Prabhupada says about Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. Prabhupada says you can take the train to Kurukshetra. It's right there, you know. So certainly 500 years ago, Srila Haridasa Thakura, I mean, you can see his samadhi, you can see where he was born, you can see where he is at, you can see his Bhajan Kutir is there in Jagannath Puri. He appeared about 35 years before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was elderly. I remembered that they were sent out on Sankirtan. He would go out daily. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu organized different preaching teams. So Lord Nityananda and Haridasa Thakura were a preaching team. And Prabhupada said that Haridasa Thakura's approach was humble persuasion. You know, elderly and deep scholar and personification of humility. So that was Haridasa Thakura. Prabhupada said Lord Nityananda would bang on the door. Bam, 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 bam. The surprised householder would open the door. Lord Nityananda would burst in, roll on the floor in ecstasy, knocking over all the furniture. And Haridas kept asking, you know, can I have another partner? Can I have another partner? But Prabhupada said that Lord Chaitanya said, no, he's your partner. So they also were the ones who approached Jagai and Madai. You know, Haridas was, no, I don't know if this is going to go well, you know, but Lord Nityananda said, no, if we can deliver them, then our Lord's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories will be spread further. So when first time they approached, when they started chasing them, Haridasa Thakura was elderly. He couldn't run as fast as Lord Nityananda. So they almost caught Haridas. Jagai and Madai almost caught Haridas, but somehow or other by Krishna's arrangement he escaped. So you can go to these places, and you can. So it's real, and also that we should draw confidence that the words we speak, the activities we perform, they're in line with these great acharyas, these historical personalities. So we should get encouragement from that, and also we should come to the standard. We're not just, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but we're not, it should not be taken cheaply, or we have to, just like if you represent the president, you know, you're expected to be of certain standard in the diplomatic corps. Of course, now everything's shot, but, you know, if you represent someone, then you want to make a good impression. So we represent this noble tradition. So there it is. That's a preface. So it's good to know these historical details, and because it gives us confidence. So we'll get to all this other stuff in a moment. But these are excerpts from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then a few from the Chaitanya. If we have time, we're going to read from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. The Haridasa Thakura and the being beaten in 22 marketplaces. It's quite enlivening. So he appeared, Haridasa Thakura appeared in the late 15th century in East Bengal, now Bangladesh, in a Muslim family. He left quite soon after that, and he was living in a cave. We're going to get into that in a second. And then he moved to an Pulyagram, but he was living, and Prabhupada describes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur elaborates that actually Haridasa Thakura was Lord Brahma. And on the external thing, quite often these things run on two tracks, internal and external. So on the external level, Lord Brahma stole Krishna's cows. And the reaction of that was he had to be born in a low, in a low-class family. Family of meteors, actually. He had to be born in that family. That was the karmic reaction. Also, it's described that he was in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. And of course, we know Prahlad Maharaj was born in an Asuric family. He was persecuted in so many different ways. So, and he was absorbed, Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in how to do good for these people, the conditioned souls. So Haridasa Thakura is Lord Brahma in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. There it is. So, let's see. It's stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda, chapter 2, that Haridasa Thakura was born in a village called Budana, in the district of Jaisur. And we've got a map. You'll see where that is in a moment. But after some time, he came to live on the banks of the Ganga at Pulyagram, near Shantipur. This is in our Navadvip area. Haridas used to chant the holy name of Krishna more than 300,000 times daily, without fail. 300,000 times. I don't think that's rounds, that's individual names. Is the full mantra 300,000 times, or actual names of Krishna? Okay. The ways of his good qualities were like those of Prahlad Maharaj. He did not even slightly raise an eyebrow when persecuted by the Muslim ruler. And we're going to describe that. In dramas, Lord Chaitanya liked to put on dramas. And Prabhupada liked dramas. Actually, they're quite effective. And Prabhupada actually trained the devotees going to London, Mukunda, Gurudas, Shamasundar, Malati Devi, Jamuna, that crew. Prabhupada trained them how to do, and they would do different street theaters. We used to do that, 5-minute sketches, and they were fantastic. So it says here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he would arrange dramas, Haridasa Thakura would play a police constable. I don't know what the drama is. We have to find that out. So let's see. What else we got going on? He was so exalted that Advaita Acharya was considered the president or the leader, the head of the Brahminical community in Shantipur, in that whole area. Very exalted, very noble, aristocratic lineage. And when you do the Shraddha ceremony, as Jayapataka Maharaj calls it, a cosmic karmic care package. If one of your relatives is stuck in some sinful place, you do the Shraddha ceremony, and the key to the thing is you offer Vishnu Prasadam. And that Krishna Prasadam, Vishnu Prasadam, goes to wherever that living entity is in a hellish condition and immediately gets delivered. So again, it's a cosmic karmic care package. That's how Jayapataka Maharaj describes it. And one of the ceremonies is you feed Brahmins, and you feed exalted Brahmins. And that's the apex of the Shraddha ceremony. And here we have Advaita Acharya, the aristocratic leader of the Brahminical community. And for his father's Shraddha ceremony, he invited Haridasa Thakura, born in a Muslim family, so many things, and offered him Mahaprasadam, offered it to him as the most honored position. And we'll read about that in a minute. Here it says, Haridasa Thakura was so exalted that Advaita Goswami, when performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father, offered him the first plate. And here's Advaitacharya. Because Haridas was protesting. No, no, no. But Advaitacharya said, feeding you is equal to feeding 10 million Brahmins. Advaitacharya said, therefore accept this Shrad Patra. Thus Advaitacharya made him eat. By the order of Lord Chaitanya, both Lord Nityananda and Haridas used to preach the cult of Krishna consciousness door to door. In the course of such preaching, they found Jagai and Madai, two mad and drunken brothers, who upon seeing them began to chase them. That we described. It said, now we're in Puri. Because later on, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there, he was living in Navadvip. You know, in the Navadvip area with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, going daily on Harinam with his partner, Lord Nityananda. And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moved to Jagannath Puri, he went to Jagannath Puri with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and stayed the rest of the time in Jagannath Puri. So, and it says here, to avoid turmoil, three great personalities, Haridasa Thakura, Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Sanatana Goswami, did not enter the temple of Jagannath. Haridasa Thakura said, I am the most sinful and lowest among men. Later I shall eat one palmful of prasadam while waiting outside. So he was, because he considered, I'm born in a Muslim family, even though he was so exalted, and we'll read some of his pastimes, he had a very, very humble mood. Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, because they were engaged in the service of the Muslim king. Rupa Goswami was the finance minister, and Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. Now, Bengal was not just Bangladesh and West Bengal, it was one place. And the gross national product for Bengal, the kingdom of Bengal, was more than the country of France. That's how wealthy it was. And they were in fact, the British, they put their, their capital originally was in Calcutta. Later on, they moved to Delhi. But they started off in Calcutta because Bengal was the jewel of India. So it gives you an idea, and they were the prime minister. Sanatana Goswami was the prime minister. Rupa Goswami was the finance minister. You know the story that when Rupa Goswami retired, he had a whole boat full of gold coins, which he distributed in different ways. So these are powerful, powerful personalities, and it's so exalted. We can't even, of course, ultimately they're coming from Krishna's Leela in Goloka. But the point is that they took a very, very humble position. You know, our disease is everybody wants to become big, big, but we see exalted devotees, they want to become smallest, humble. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is him requesting Haridas. You remain here, and he gave him a place. And we're going to have we show the pictures of that. He actually arranged for the place where he arranged for a shade tree. We're going to talk about that from one of Lord Jagannath's toothpicks. He created a tree for Haridas to sit outside and chant japa in the shade. That's how affectionate. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would visit him every day, arrange for his prasadam, arrange for his place to stay, and would visit him every day. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested Haridas, remain here and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. I shall personally come here to meet you daily. Remain here peacefully and look at the chakra on the top of the temple and offer obeisances. As far as your prasadam is concerned, I shall arrange to have that sent here. And if you go to Jagannath Puri and you get on this, you stand on the roof of his samadhi, you can see, on the platform, and then the samadhi's there. You can look across the jungle and you see the red flag that was originally established by Lord Brahma on top of the Jagannath temple. It's quite moving, actually. A reference here, these are just excerpts, because I'm reading exactly just right out of the CC. A reference is made here for those who are very anxious to imitate the behavior of Thakur Haridas in an unnatural way. You know, we have devotees, no, I'm just chanting, no time for service, I'm just chanting. There was that devotee in a tree. I think you were giving class. You were talking about that devotee sitting was living in a tree and chanting in Mayapur, you know. So here we go. A reference, and this is from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. A reference is made here for those who are very anxious to imitate the behavior of Thakur Haridas in an unnatural way. One must receive the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his representative before adopting such a way of life. The duty of a pure devotee or a servant of the Lord is to carry out the order of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Lord Nityananda to go to Bengal and preach. He asked the 6 Goswamis to go to Vrindavan and excavate the lost places of pilgrimage. In this case, the Lord asked Haridasa Thakura to remain there in Jagannath Puri and constantly chant the holy name. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave different persons different orders, and consequently, we should not try to imitate the behavior of Haridasa Thakura without being ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or his representative. Now, there was one of the encounters was there was a sangha of Brahmins and devotees. They all gathered together and they were talking about the power of the holy name. And Haridasa Thakura said that just Namabas, coming to before one even has, Krishna Prema or all the different stages, if one just comes to the point of one's offenselessly chanting, one immediately gets liberation. And there was one Brahmin, he was a tax collector. It's a whole story. But he was very beautiful, especially his nose was very beautiful. It mentions in CC. And so he stood up and said, this is completely bogus, that, great yogis and mystics and jnanis for lifetimes just to get liberation. You're saying one simply offenselessly chants the holy name? It's a shadow. It's not even the main goal. Of course, the main goal of the holy name is pure Krishna Prema. But you can get liberation just by offenselessly chanting? I don't believe it. Said, in fact, if it's not true, I'll cut off your nose. Can you imagine? There was a big hue and cry, and everyone got very upset. And Haridasa Thakura, he quoted different verses confirming it. Haridasa Thakura was so humble, he said, if what I'm saying, if this presentation of Shastra is not accurate, I'll cut off my own nose. So immediately this Gopal Chakravarti was thrown out. Everyone, that was it. He's just like a crow amongst an assembly of swans. He was immediately thrown out. And within 3 days, he got leprosy. And everything began to melt, and even especially his beautiful nose melted off. So it's certainly a cautionary tale about offenses to Vaishnavas. Who are you, and this and that, and and it's the mad elephant offense, offending Vaishnavas. Okay. Oh, he says, this young man, Gopal Chakravarti, became very angry upon hearing the statements of Haridasa Thakura. He immediately criticized him. Oh, assembly of learned scholars, just hear the conclusion of the emotional devotee. After millions and millions of births, when one is complete in absolute knowledge, one still may not attain liberation. Yet this man says that one can attain it simply by awakening a glimpse of the holy name. So you can imagine the scene. So we're going to skip over this because of the time factor. So Haridasa Thakura was not upset. All the Brahmins advised him, this Gopal Chakravarti, you have insulted Haridasa Thakura. Thus, there will be a very dangerous position for you. You should not expect anything auspicious. Haridasa Thakura replied, one cannot understand the glories of the holy name simply by logic and argument. Therefore, this man cannot possibly understand the glories of the holy name. And it explains here that Haridasa Thakura was very unhappy when the man got leprosy. And it wasn't that, oh, good, serves you right. But it's described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the purport that, okay, you can, if you commit an offense against a Vaishnava, you can get forgiven. But it's not necessarily that Krishna forgives. Sometimes Krishna says, no, so it's a very grievous thing. Even, a devotee will naturally give forgiveness. And if one's actually home, says, hey, look, I'm sorry, I lost my temper, I didn't really mean it, I'm sorry. Then a devotee feels, all right. But Krishna doesn't necessarily forgive. Very serious. So next, Haridasa Thakura, naturally he was, here he is being honored as, by Advaita Acharya, the aristocratic head of the Brahmin community. and a powerful preacher, and a intimate lieutenant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and a great scholar. So naturally, he was being honored. So the Qazi is it's both a religious, it's like a mullah, but it's also a government position. So the Qazi became very envious. He was thinking, well, look at me. I'm a great scholar also, and I'm a powerful position, kind of like the mayor, and he's getting more respect than me. So he devised a plan, and the plan was that because Haridasa Thakura was very beautiful, very handsome in his youth, very strong body, broad shoulders, very, very handsome. So the Qazi had this idea that he met with a number of prostitutes and selected the most beautiful. She actually volunteered. Of course, there was remuneration with some gold coins, but she said, within 3 days, And the Qazi said, okay, I'll have my police officer will be hiding in the bushes. And when you fall down with Haridas, he'll jump out and, aha, caught in the act, you're just a fraudster. So that was the plan. So you know the story. The first day, Haridas said, oh, certainly, I'll solve your problem. I'm happy to relieve your, passion. But I have to finish my japa. So she stayed up all night long waiting for him, and he didn't finish. So she reported back to the Qazi, don't worry, he had to finish his vow, but he promised me this second night he'll finish, and he's promised to have union with me. So don't worry, just give us some time, She goes back the second time, tries all of her different moves. Actually, he was tempted twice. He was also tempted by Maya personified. So we have to be careful, Prabhupada said that Krishna doesn't want to be disturbed by any nonsense. So Krishna tests the devotees. Are you serious? So anyway, in the third night, you know the story. By hearing him for one night, two night, third night, she became completely purified. And we've got a slide of it. And she became very purified by the power of his holy name. And apologized, repented, offered obeisances. Haridasa Thakura said, I knew the whole thing. I knew what the Qazi was up to. Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They actually had a plan to murder him. And they went to the police. And the police officer, he said, we do these things normally for bribes, but not with a saintly person. And he went and warned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, these people are planning like this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur already knew the whole thing. So Haridas, he also knew. He said, actually, I stayed here only to deliver you. So yeah, he knew about the whole thing. And she said, what do I do now? I've committed so many sinful deeds, and I don't want to go back to that life. So he left. He said, you stay here in my bhajan kutir. And she shaved her head, she worshipped Tulsi, and she became absorbed in chanting. It became a great Vaishnavi saint. So he left after she was delivered, then he left. So that's Ramchandra Khan was the name of the... Now we've gone to the passing of Haridasa Thakura. This was Haridasa's instruction to her. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra continuously and render service to the Tulsi plant by watering her and offering prayers to her. In this way, you will soon get the opportunity to be sheltered at Krishna's lotus feet. And I was thinking how expertly Prabhupada has designed ISKCON. It's all packed there we're worshiping Tulsi, we're chanting japa, we've got the whole package. So, if you get off a train, I don't know have you ever jumped off a train before it stopped or gotten out of a car before it stopped? You have. Yeah, because you're from India. I have too. Taj Express, you get off in Mathura. You don't really realize how fast it's going till you get off it, and whoa, that was going a lot, So we may sometimes think, I've been chanting for this or that, and I have affected by material desires. This is not an excuse for lethargy. But actually, just by following the formula that Srila Prabhupada's given to us, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, going out on Sankirtan, worshipping the deity, worshipping Tulsi, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, serving the Vaishnavas, we are actually, Prabhupada said, I was there in New York, in Brooklyn, Henry Street. Prabhupada said in his lecture, you chant 16 rounds, minimum, follow the regular principles, serve the Vaishnavas, and in this life you will see Krishna face to face. We're all in this lifetime face to face. So later on in the darshan that afternoon, Jayadvaita Maharaj asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, you know, in this life, that's all we got to do, chant 16 rounds sincerely, serve the Vaishnavas, deliver the message of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we'll see Krishna face to face in this life. You know, and it's pretty far out. Prabhupada slammed his hand down and said, in this life, why not? So this is the of course, we have to apply ourselves. It's not by osmosis. But that's the potential that's there. So now we're fast forwarding just to save time and get to the slideshow. This is the passing of Haridasa Thakura. Now Haridasa Thakura, remember that he was, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, what, 48 years old when he left this body? Something like that. 48. And so you figure that, taking the conservative number, 30 years, he was 30 years older, so you figure that Haridasa Thakura was in his 70s. So he's an old man, you know? So Haridasa Thakura, one day he said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, I've had one desire for a very long time. I think that quite soon, my Lord, you will bring to a close your pastimes within this material world. I wish that you not show me this closing chapter of your pastimes. Before that time comes, kindly let my body fall down in your presence. I wish to catch your lotus feet upon my heart and see your moon-like face. That was his pure desire. Lord Chaitanya said, whatever happiness is mine is all due to your association. It's not fitting that you will go away and leave me behind. So there's an argument. Haridasa is saying, I can't tolerate separation from you. So, you know, I can sense that you're winding up your pastimes. Let me go first and leave my body in your presence. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, but you're my source of happiness, my primary, how can I live with it? So they're arguing who's going to leave first, such as a Vaishnava quarrel. Catching the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridasa Thakura said, my Lord, do not create an illusion. Although I'm so fallen, you must certainly show me this mercy. He began to chant the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya again and again. As he drank the sweetness of the face of the Lord, tears constantly glided down from his eyes. While chanting the holy name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave up his life airs and left his body. After the passing away of Haridasa Thakura, the Lord himself took his body on his lap and danced with it in great ecstasy. And we'll show some points of that. We'll close with this praise by Sanatana Goswami. He's praising Haridasa Thakura. So Sanatana Goswami said, some behave very well, but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, whereas others preach, but do not behave properly. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name. So both duties to the holy name, we have service to the holy name. And service to the holy name, in addition to chanting nice japa and hearing and all that, also our service is to behave nicely. That's an element of serving the holy name. And an element of serving the holy name is to distribute it to others. So just chanting alone in a solitary place, that's not full service to the holy name. One has to also distribute the holy name. So here's being said. The second part by Sanatana Goswami. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name, by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you're the most advanced devotee in the world. And that's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila. So we can end there. Now let's go for the slideshow. And if we have what's the time? If we have a few minutes left over, we're going to read from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So now what do we need to do? I guess I need to slide over there. Well, that's nice. Although Prabhupada said Krishna, you should never have Krishna alone. He's always Bhakta Vatsal. He's with devotees. Prabhupada said there should be at least one cow. This is the Samadhi Murti in Pulyagram. So Namachari Srila Haridasa Thakura appeared in the late 15th century, 30 to 35 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next. Thank you. Now, this is a map. This is Bangladesh. And he was born here in eastern Bangladesh. Now here is Shantipur, Navadvip, all of that. So this is the distance. That's the Ganga, that's the border between India and Bangladesh. So this was all Bengal, you know. And then here we have the district of Krishnanagar. This is, where are we? Shantipur. Shantipur is here, and this is our Navadvip. So it just gives you an idea of the area. Next. He was living in a cave. After he left his birthplace, he was living in a cave, and there was a poisonous snake moved into the cave. And the poisonous, he was so absorbed in the holy name, he didn't notice that this poisonous snake, it was emanated a very foul odor, and it was a big odor. And people were coming to see Srila Haridasa Thakura, but they wouldn't come because of the snake. So they asked him, please leave. Can you please leave? So, next. Actually, it's described that it was a jeweled snake. It had a nice jewel on top of its head. But what happened is that the snake, when he saw that Haridasa Thakura was going to be inconvenienced, Haridasa Thakura was going to have to move, Krishna, in the heart of the snake, said, no, no, you leave. So the snake slithered out, past everyone. That was the end of the foul smell, and Haridasa Thakura continued to live in the cave. But he was the greatest of mystics because Krishna is the greatest of mystics, and Krishna is in the heart of every living entity inside every atom. So if we're surrendered to Krishna and Krishna is Yogeshwar, then the devotee automatically, because Krishna likes to fulfill the desire of the devotees. This is Krishna's happiness. Krishna likes, even more than fulfilling his own desires, he likes to fulfill the desires of devotees. Pure desires. Next. So this is the Bhajan Kutir in Pulyagram. It's near Shantipur. And he stayed here before moving, going with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Puri. So this, you can see there. You can go and see his samadhi and his Bhajan Kutir. And this is where he was arrested by the Qazi. And we'll get into that in a minute. Next. So we talked about Gopal Chakravarti and the power of the holy name, that even Nambas gives liberation. A glimpse of the holy name of Nambas gives liberation. And we know the result of the mad elephant. If you've got a mad elephant loose in a garden, everything's finished. So we have to be careful how we deal with devotees. Prabhupada said, Prabhu doesn't mean, Prabhu, come shine my shoes. Next. So here we talked about this, Advaitacharya and having Haridas as these Father Shred ceremony. He said, by feeding you, I'm feeding 1 crore of the best of Brahmins. Let anyone come, and I will prove it. That was that's a pure devotee. We feel meek and humble, but one should understand that a pure devotee is the jewel of the Vedic system. Next. Varnashram system. Prabhupada said the cause of the downfall of the Vedic Varnashram system is that Smarta Brahmins refuse to accept qualified candidates. That, oh, I'm born in a Brahmin family, you're born in, you're always going to be the Vedic system is one is born based on his previous karma and activities and desires. One's born in a particular position. And you have a certain varna, a certain status in society. But it can completely change. That's the point. Krishna says in Gita, guna and karma. Was it Chatur Varna Mayasristam Guna Karma Vibhagasa? That Krishna says, I've created this Varnashram system, but it's based on guna and karma, qualities and work. You never find the word janma. It's just not there. It's not based on birth. It's based on your... And therefore, anyone can be elevated. Who was giving class the other day? They said, maybe it was Dravidapur, whatever. They asked, maybe it was Vijay, but they asked the boy... he wanted to take initiation, and the guru was only accepting Brahmins. So he asked the boy, what caste do you come in? He said, I don't know, I'll go ask my mother. The mother said, frankly, I've had many husbands. I don't know who your father is. So the boy innocently went back and reported. You know, he could have lied. He could have said so much. But he had to admit, I don't know who my father is. My mother was a prostitute. So immediately the Guru accepted it. You're telling the truth. You're a Brahmin. It shows you're a Brahmin. So it's qualities. So Prabhupada said the whole Varnashram system, confirmed by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it all fell apart because there was no means. You were automatic. I'm higher. You're lower. Your business is to serve me. Prabhupada said, I'm not. There's that famous, I don't want to take up too much time on this, but Prabhupada was speaking in Paris, and it was during the student revolution, and the communists, the French Communist Party had almost captured the government. It was, you know, the people were rioting in the street, and they told Prabhupada, you shouldn't speak. Prabhupada went to the hall, and he was speaking. And, you know, Prabhupada, truth to power, never wanted to, you know, cut the philosophy to fit the fashion of the day. Prabhupada was explaining that human society has different divisions, and we have to, everyone can evolve up, but you have to work at it. You know, you can't just stay, you know, Jamadi Jayante Sudra, that everyone's born, you know, stays a fool. You have to move. So, and you know who you can talk to is Kripa Mai was there, because she was in France. And one of the students stood up and began shouting, because Prabhupada was explaining there's 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, like that. And the men said, I suppose you think you're first class. I suppose you think you're first class. You know, shaking his fist like this, and it's an angry vibe, right? And Prabhupada said so forcefully, Prabhupada said, no! And it was so powerful, they quieted down. And then Prabhupada said very gently, he said, no, I am 5th class, servant of all the other 4 classes. And Prabhupada said it with such force and humility that the entire audience burst into applause. So there has to, yes, anyway, that principle that one can evolve, one can move, and that's the goal of life. One moves forward towards pure Krishna consciousness, Vaisnava. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry, yes. So this is a picture of Advaitacharya's house in Shantipur. And it's interesting, Lord Nityananda and Advaitacharya used to meet here, and they would plan how to execute, they would craft strategy for spreading the Sankirtan movement. So Prabhupada, before coming to the West, a few days before getting on the Jaladuta, Prabhupada came here. And Jayapataka Maharaj explains I forget his name, the Sevata, his family's been taking care of this place, since Advaitacharya's time. And he knew Prabhupada as a householder. And he describes, I think it was in 1985, he came to Mayapur and he was describing. He said that he saw this elderly sannyasi sitting in the back of the temple room at this place, in Shantipur, Advaitacharya's house, where they used to plan the strategy for the Sankirtan mission, Lord Nityananda and Advaitacharya. And he saw this sannyasi, and he said, oh, that's my old friend, Abhay Babu. He knew Prabhupada when he was a householder. So he came to speak something, and he saw that Prabhupada was crying, chanting japa at this place and crying. So later on, he said, he introduced himself, and he said, asked, why are you crying? And Prabhupada said, my spiritual master has given me an impossible mission. I have to try, but how will it possibly happen? So this is that place where that pastime happened. Next. So here's the prostitute repenting. You can see handsome Haridas, very beautiful young man. And he stayed there just to deliver. You can see the Tulsi in the background. Hang on a minute, I want to blind somebody here. You see the Tulsi in the background and his simple bhajan kutir. Next. So here she shaved her head and she gave up everything and she simply absorbed herself in worshiping Tulsi and chanting the holy name. She became a great Vaishnavi saint and delivered many people. Next. So as we were describing the fame of Haridas spreading, so he was brought before the Qazi. He's brought by the Qazi before the local king. So here's the envious Qazi, here's peaceful Haridas Thakur, and here's the king hearing it. And I want to go quickly because I want to read this. You'll like it, from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. He was beaten in 22 marketplaces. Usually someone dies in just 1 or 2 or 3 marketplaces. You're just pulp. You're just whipped to it, because they would whip you and drag you. So here you see they're whipping and they're dragging him, you know. And finally, after 22 marketplaces, the guard said, if you don't die, the king's going to kill us. Haridasa Thakura, oh, I'm inconveniencing you. Immediately he went into samadhi, and they threw him in the Ganga. They thought he was dead. They threw him in the Ganga. And it's a whole story. We'll read. And the king ultimately begged for forgiveness. We'll read that. Next. So here he's preaching with Lord Chaitanya, daily reports. And Bhaktisiddhanta, this is with Jagai and Madai. And I was describing how they had to run for their lives. And Haridasa Thakura couldn't quite keep up with Lord Nityananda. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this is the fearless spirit of the Sankirtan devotees. Prabhupada told his name, Prabhu Vishnu Swami, Prabhu Vishnu Prabhu, when he went to Bangladesh, it was Bangladesh, Muslim country, very dangerous. And Prabhupada said, to be a successful preacher, you have to have the courage of an Englishman and the heart of a Bengali mother. You know, you have to have that compassion and you have to be brave. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says the Haridasa Thakur exemplified that bravery and that compassion. Next. And here he moved to Jagannath Puri. Here you can see here's the flag on top of the here's the chakra, here's the flag. Next. Mahaprabhu went to Purushottam Kshetra, which is Vipralambra Kshetra. It is the place of crying. There, Krishna in the form of Jagannath is crying for Srimati Radharani. And Krishna in the form of Mahaprabhu is crying for Krishna. So it's the place of tears, crying in the Vipralambra, the ecstasy of separation. That's the particular mood of Jagannath Puri. Next. So this is the Bhajan Kutir of Jagannath. And you can see over the jungle, when you stand here, if you look this way towards me, you can see over the jungle and see the flag and the chakra on top of the Jagannath temple. Next. So this is the Siddha Bakul tree. I mentioned this tree. And it was planted by Mahaprabhu to provide shade for Haridasa Thakura. There was no shade tree, and sometimes he would sit outside and chant japa. And this is where he chanted 300,000 names daily under this Bakul, Siddha Bakul tree. And it came, evidently, when they offered Lord Jagannath his prasadam, 55 offerings a day. It says that Lord Jagannath's fingers never become moist, never become dry, because he's always either taking prasadam, 55 offerings a day. So evidently they offered him a toothpick. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a toothpick that had been offered to Jagannath, and he just like he took the mango seed, and whoosh, immediately the mango tree came up. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so many miracles, So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took a toothpick from Lord Jagannath's prasadam, just put the toothpick in the ground, whoosh, immediately this big shade tree came up. So that's the Siddha Bakul tree. Next. This is the interior of his samadhi. It looks a lot like the Gambhira, same mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next. Now here he's saying, here's Haridasa Thakur as an old man, and he knows that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be leaving soon. This is Ramananda Roy here, so you can just imagine the assemblage of devotees. And he was not, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come daily, and he said, Haridas, you appear to be becoming weak. What is your disease? And what did Haridasa Thakur said? He said, my disease is I cannot finish my rounds. Like Sanatana Goswami, old man, couldn't go around Govardhan Hill, and he was feeling distressed because he'd made a vow to offer so many obeisances a day and go around Govardhan Hill. And Krishna just pushed his foot into a rock. He said, you can do one. This rock, it's a Govardhan Shila. You just offer your obeisance here, it's all covered. So this is a mood of a devotee. My disease is I can't finish my rounds. Next. So here he's passing away in Puri. The Lord Chaitanya was holding him in the middle of kirtan, holding him and dancing with Haridasa Thakur's body. And here, with his own hand, he dug the samadhi grave on the beach side for Haridasa Thakur. And then now there's a nice samadhi mandir there. Next. So here is another picture. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally placed in samadhi the body of Haridasa Thakur. Next. So I think we're at the end. This is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Haridasa Thakura was most renounced in the matter of material enjoyment, and his mouth was always beautified by the chanting of Lord Krishna's name. Next. Oh, so I was saying that, it describes in Bhagavad Gita that, the yogis, they leave, if you leave is it the moon that's in the dark 6 months, or is it the sun 6 months in the dark and 6 months in the light? There's a whole description. It's in the Attaining the Supreme Bhagavad Gita, that the mystic yogis, they have to leave at the right time, and so many, it's a whole, not easy, my friends, and you can't just buy a ticket and off you go. It's not like flying on United Airlines. But at the end of that section of verses, it says that here it says, although devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they're never bewildered, therefore always be fixed in devotion. So we should know that if we're just fixed in chanting the holy name, nice meditation on the holy name, and we've got a nice schedule. You just get up, you chant the holy name. We've got a beautiful temple, Tulsi's there. You just chant the holy name and go out on Sankirtan. And don't worry about it. Let me just serve Krishna. And Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, will personally come and take us back home, back to Godhead. Okay, next. So, I love this picture of Vaisheshika Prabhu. Here it is. He's got Bhagavad Gita in his hand. He's a perfect practitioner. You just follow Bhagavad Gita and these instructions, and Krishna will make all arrangements for going back home, back to Godhead. Let us be absorbed. Let us do our business. And our business is to spread the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Krishna. And Krishna will make all arrangements. Don't worry. Next. So here I said already, Sanatana Goswami, some behave very well, but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, where others preach, but don't behave properly. You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name, by your personal behavior and by your preaching. Therefore, you are the spiritual master of the entire world, for you are the most advanced devotee in the world. And I think that's it. One more slide. Okay, so now we could snap on the lights quickly. Thank you, Tapas. And I'll sit right here to save time. But I want to read this from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. It won't take a few. What time is it? Okay, fine. We got time. It's only a few verses. So now the Qazi, he has brought Chaitanya, he's brought Haridasa Thakura, because Haridasa Thakura, fame naturally follows a devotee. Pious people appreciate, saintly people appreciate. Just like Dravida is known for his poetry all over the world. And Vijay Prabhu is known for distributing books. And everyone in San Diego likes Balaram. So devotee follows, fame naturally, no, it's true. Fame naturally follows a sincere devotee. So here, Haridasa Thakura is brought before, just imagine, you saw the picture. It's in the king's court, and the king is hearing him out, and the Qazi's the king's agent, and saying, this man he was a Muslim, and now he's converted, and, he's creating social disturbance, and he should be beaten in a marketplace. And Haridasa Thakura, I won't go through the whole thing, but it just gives you a sample. Vrindavan Das Thakur is the Srila Vyasadeva appeared in Chaitanya's Leela and wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he gives all of his arguments, why he's doing what he's doing and everything. So this is Haridasa Thakura. Dear sir, now you can judge. If I'm at fault, then you may punish me. Haridasa Thakur's conclusive statement. Hearing Haridasa Thakur's conclusive statements, the Muslims, including the king, were all very satisfied. Only the sinful Qazi instigated the king, saying, punish him, punish him. This miscreant will create other miscreants, and he'll bring a bad name to the Muslim community. Therefore, punish him in an exemplary way, or at least make him recite the confession from the Quran. The king didn't want to do it. The king didn't want to punish Haridas. The king again requested Haridas, "Oh brother, just recite the confession from the Quran, and you'll have nothing to worry about. Otherwise, this sinful Qazi will punish you, and you'll be forced to recite the Quran anyway. In this way, you'll be humiliated." Haridasa Thakur said, "One cannot do anything other than what the Supreme Lord desires." truth to power. Know for certain that the Lord awards the results of one's offenses. So he's saying, if I'm offensive, then, even if my body is cut into pieces and I give up my life, I will never give up the chanting of the Lord's holy name. They were saying, you confess your sins, you come back and be a Muslim, and everything will be fine. And I'm not picking on Muslims. There's many good things we can learn from them, but just, you can understand the situation. So they said, you come back to be your Muslim faith, you give up this chanting the holy name, you give up this worship of Krishna, and we'll forgive everything. You'll be all right. Haridasa said, you can beat me, you can cut me into pieces. How can I give up the holy name? I simply cannot do it. After hearing Haridasa's statement, the king asked the Qazi, now what will you have me do with him? He's stuck. What to do, the king? The Qazi replied, he should be beaten in 22 marketplaces. Take his life in this way. That is my opinion. If he survives being beaten in 22 marketplaces, then we will understand that he's actually knowledgeable and his words are true. Well, if he's such a saintly person, let's test it out. The Qazi then called the guards and sternly ordered them, beat him in such a way that he will die. If a Muslim who follows the Hindu religion is killed, then he'll be delivered from that great sin. Instigated by the words of the sinful Qazi, the king gave his order, and the miscreant guards arrested Haridas. The miscreant guards therefore took Haridas from marketplace to marketplace and mercilessly beat him. Haridas simply remembered the name of Krishna, on account of this ecstatic remembrance, he felt no pain. The pious people were greatly distressed to see this excessive beating of Haridas. Someone said, the entire kingdom will be destroyed because they're torturing such a saintly person. Someone angrily cursed the king and the Qazi, and someone also was prepared to fight with them. Another person fell at the feet of the Muslims and said, I will give you money if you don't beat him so hard. Nevertheless, the sinful guards showed no mercy, and they continued angrily beating Haridas from market to market. By the mercy of Krishna, Haridas felt no pain whatsoever in spite of the heavy beating. The scriptures explain that Prahlad felt no pain when he's mercilessly beaten by the demons. Remember, he's considered a combination of Brahma and Prahlad. So as Prahlad was thrown off a cliff, and given poison, so many different things. In the same way, Haridas felt no pain as he was mercilessly beaten by the Muslims. What to speak of Haridas himself, even one who remembers his activities is immediately relieved from all material miseries. That's for us, Bruce. Rather, Haridas felt sorry. Although he's being beaten, Haridas felt sorry for the sinful guards who were engaged in beating him, and he prayed. This is how he's praying for the guards. O Krishna, be merciful on these living entities. Forgive their offenses of torturing me. In this way, the sin, they talk about Jesus saying, forgive them, they know not what they do. So it's the same thing here with Haridas. In this way, the sinful guards beat Haridas in various marketplaces. They beat him severely in order to kill him, but Haridas was not even disturbed by their beating. The Muslims were astonished to see this, and they thought, can a human being survive after such beatings? If we beat someone in 2 or 3 marketplaces, they die, but we've beaten him in 22. They all thought, he has not died, and moreover, we see that he's smiling. He must be a powerful saint. The Muslims then said, Haridas will be killed because of you. And just a little bit of the purport. The Muslim servants who had severely beaten Haridas said, if we cannot somehow or other beat you to death, our master will be very angry with us. Then he will kill us out of anger. Although we've beaten you so much, you're still alive. Therefore the Qazi will kill us. Haridas smiled. He said, if my remaining alive creates a problem for you, then I will give up my body right away. After saying this, Haridas entered into deep meditation on Krishna. We just have a few more verses. Haridas, who was endowed with all mystic power, without seeking automatically, then prayed. Haridas, who was endowed with all mystic powers, then became motionless, and his breathing stopped. Seeing this, the Muslims were struck with wonder, and they took the lifeless body of Haridas before the king. The king ordered them, bury him. But the Qazi countered, he will achieve a higher destination. He has already been born of a good Muslim family, but he's engaged in degraded Hindu practices. Therefore, he does not even deserve to be buried and attain a higher destination. If we bury him, he will certainly attain a better destination in his next life. Therefore, better to throw him in the Ganga, for he will suffer forever. Just see the mood. Following the Qazi's instructions, the guard took Haridas and threw it in the Ganga. As the Muslims were about to throw Haridas's body in the Ganges, Haridas sat there immovable. As Haridas sat there in ecstatic meditation, Lord Vishrambar, the Lord of the universe, entered his body. Who had the power? They couldn't move his body. He just was sitting there in samadhi and became as heavy as the universe. Who had the power to move Haridas's body when it became the abode of Lord Vishrambar? As the strongest Muslim tried to push Haridas, they found he was as immovable as a stone pillar. Haridas remained absorbed in the nectarian ocean of love for Krishna, and had no external feelings. He didn't even know where he was, in the sky, on the land, or in the water of the Ganges. Haridas had the same ability as Prahlad Maharaj to remain fixed in remembrance of the Supreme Lord. Now let's just skip here a little bit, because I don't want to keep you too long. Haridas, who had the power to control the universe, was certainly one of the topmost devotees of Lord Chaitanya. I guess they finally got him in the Ganga. After Haridas floated in the Ganga for some time, he regained his external consciousness by the will of the Lord. He then came to the shore and got out of the water in great ecstasy. He's got a little dip in the Ganga, got a bath, everything's fine. In this way, he started for Pulyagram while loudly chanting the names of Krishna. Seeing the extraordinary potency of Haridas, the Muslims' minds changed and they forgot their envy. Sometime after regaining his consciousness, Haridas met the king of Bengal and laughed mercilessly. Mercifully. He laughed mercifully. With great awe and reverence, the king folded his hands and humbly said to Haridas, "Now I know for certain that you are a powerful saint, for you are firmly convinced that the Supreme Lord is one. O sir, I've personally come to meet you, therefore please forgive all my offenses. You are equal to everyone, both friend and enemy, but there is no one in the three worlds who can understand you. You are free to go wherever you wish. You may go or stay in a cave on the banks of the Ganga or wherever you desire. Now you may stay wherever you like and do whatever you please." So that's the end of the story of Haridasa Thakur being beaten. All glories to Srila Haridasa Thakura. Hare Krishna. And we come in such a line. Don't ever forget it.